Hello friends, this is Cara-Renee with B.Reborn Art and Healing, coming to you with my Sunday's Art of Truth for Sunday, January the 18th. And today we're going to be, just straightening my camera, today we're going to be doing the first page in my 2025 Mixed Media Journal. So I am going to primarily be using this journal to do my mixed media projects for 2025, which will include Sunday's Art of Truth. There may be some Sunday Arts of Truth that will be on canvas. It depends on the inspiration. But the project that we're going to be doing today is around my word for the year, which is exploration. So I found this quote that says, "The unknown isn't always comfortable, but it is where the magic happens." And I really loved that. It really spoke to me. So I decided to use it as my quote on this journal spread. We're going to be doing a double spread, and I'll get to that in a second. So this I printed actually on tissue paper. So it's on some copy paper right now, but it's actually on tissue paper. So we're going to be using that. We're going to need to be reserving space for that on the journal page. I printed two in case one goes bad. The beauty about using tissue paper, printing on tissue paper, is that if you put it on and you don't like it, you just take it off. It's not permanent. It's because it's tissue paper. So I've got my normal supplies out, my flexible modeling paste, a variety of golden fluid acrylics, raw umber, cobalt turquoise, quinacridone nickel azo gold, nickel azo yellow. I've got my matte medium for putting my papers down. And I want to do a little bit of stenciling with a sponge or my fingers or something with similar colors. I do have a pink here, muted pink. I thought we might try that. We'll see what it looks like. Yellow ochre, cobalt turquoise, and then muted turquoise. So we'll see how that goes. We are far from that. So I often have to do a voiceover for my Sunday's Art of Truth, but I'm going to see if I can just talk less so that I can just cut out some parts that you don't need to see in real time. So I've got my brushes, a plate, my palette knife, and then I've got a bunch of collage papers, which we'll talk about here in a second. I've got a few stencils. These are all Sean Petit stencils, my favorite artist of all time, especially when it comes to mixed media. But I've got just some samplings of some things I'd like to introduce with paint through the stencil. And then I might pick another stencil to do a little bit of other stenciling on the spread, but we'll see how that goes. So this is the journal that I picked. I've used this journal before. I really love it. It is a Dina Wakley journal, I believe. I kept the papers so that you guys could see. Oh, Dylusions. It's Dylusions. So I wanted you guys to see what this looks like. They're very popular art journal, but it's got 64 pages and it's from Dylusions, and it's really great because I don't know, I feel I like the function of it. I like the form of it. It's very stable. It's very secure. I was thinking that I'd like to maybe have a pocket in the front of this journal, so I thought maybe I would glue just the sides of this page to the cover, because it's already kind of, see how it's stuck. So I thought we would do that. And then just go ahead and that would mean we would need to, yeah, we could still do that and just work on these two pages. I think that would be fine. So I'm not going to glue it right now. I'm just going to let it be for the moment. And I'm going to get rid of these extra brushes because we don't need all of them over here, but I do want to have one soft brush. And I'm going to move my mouse, and I'm going to just show you the papers that I chose for the background, and then I will speed up the tearing and the gluing down of the papers because that's very redundant, but I do want to talk to you about what I chose and why. I was really wanting to create with a butterfly, and so I found this digital on Etsy. I will link it. It's the only thing that really spoke to me. It's actually a journal page, so it's got that slit there, but I thought maybe we'd fold it and put it in the middle of the page. We'll see. I'm not too bothered by that at all. And then this is, most of these papers are from Sean Petit collage packs. I used to be on her design team, so I purchased a lot while I was on her design team. I got a lot of stencils for free. But these are mostly from her what does she call them? Collage packs. So just a variety of different beautiful papers and envelope, pictures of envelopes and some script and some antique clocks. I love these grungy clocks. I love these clocks. I've used them a lot in my mixed media. Tickets. These are from one of her collage packs as well, and I thought it went with this whole concept of exploration. So tickets, exploration, and that's why I chose the map. So this is a map that includes. This one is France. Yeah. I thought I chose more than one, but I did not. And then I've got some background butterflies and just some black and white with some of that old paper look. And so I'm going to get going with that. And I have the freedom to pause this and come back to it later. So I might not do this all in one setting. It's a work night, but I feel like I need to do it. Again, this is Sunday's Art of Truth for January the 18th. It is only January the 6th right now, but I've got time, so I'm going to do it. I'm waiting for my new printer, so I can't really print anything else and work on anything too much in the studio because the printer's just not working. So I thought we would go ahead and do this project. So I'm going to go ahead and start tearing up these papers and gluing them on. So I might come back and talk with you from time to time because I don't like a lot of music to go by for a long period of time. But I'm going to try to keep the talking at a minimum so that I have more opportunity to cut things out that are making the video too long. So before I do that, I'm going to grab some parchment. This is another place where parchment paper is really useful, because you can slide this in between your pages. So these tend to be super big though, so we'll see. I think I'm just going to trim that off. I want to have a little bit overlapping there, so maybe about that much. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same with this other piece. And then we'll get on with the gluing. It's a good idea to put it between those two pages that I'm going to make a pocket out of, because then we won't have a bunch of gunk in there when we want to glue it together, is my thought. So let me just trim this one down as well. I'm going to reach and grab some sticky tape. You know, it's kind of like a brown packing tape, but I like to seal my spine because I use a lot of fluid. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to proceed with going ahead and starting to tear and glue down these papers. So I'm going to set this to music right now. Okay, so I'm going to apologize in advance for this voiceover. It has been 3 weeks since I created this project, which is not a smart thing for me to do, but I'm going to do my very best to track with you what I was doing in this video. It was 2 hours long in real time, so I had some serious editing to do. So let's talk about what's going on here. So as I mentioned in the intro, I did want to use some packing tape to protect the spine there, because when I use a lot of wet medium, it can get really soppy in there and it can leak through to the other pages. So that's what I was doing there. So we are just tearing down all of the collage papers, and then we will start gluing them. So as I mentioned in most of my videos when I'm doing mixed media collage work, is I do like to select several of the same pieces just to have some balance in the background. Also, that being said, it often does not matter because much of this is covered over with all of the other layers that are going to go on top. I did want to make sure that I covered up as much of that brown paper tape as I could. So I chose that larger piece going that direction to cover up a bit of that. I am using my fluid matte medium from Liquitex to adhere all of my papers. And I also want to note here, and I will talk about it in my blog as well, but the papers that I choose when I am gluing on collage paper in the background most often have meaning to the message of the project. So that was the case here as well. So I chose that really old vintage paper that says The Daisy's First Winter, and it came along with a picture of a daisy, and that actually showed through in the final project, which I was really pleased with. And I also chose papers, again, from Sean Petit collage packs of some diagrams, like architectural kinds of things, as well as some maps, because my word for the year, as I mentioned, is exploration. And so the maps I don't travel anywhere other than in my imagination within my studio. I don't like to travel. And so but I love the idea of people traveling. I love thinking about all the adventures that people have when they go to foreign countries and they explore, that country's cultures and things like that. But in relation to my word for the year, my exploration is about going places in my own life that I typically don't go, trying things that I typically would not try, kind of living on the wild side, as I say often. Taking chances, not really knowing sometimes where a project is going to go. This project was no different than many of mine in the past. You're going to see as we move through the voiceover that there were places where I got a little bit lost, which I'll talk about as we get to those points in the video. But I really enjoyed the process of getting lost, which was really surprising to me because I like predictability and I like to control certain elements of my life, and I was not able to control what was happening here. And this map piece actually is a part of France, and I really wanted that to show in the end product. It did not, but again, as I've talked about before, me as the creator knowing what I laid down and why I chose it has great meaning to me, and I know it's there even if I don't see it in the final project. So I was super happy with what I chose and all of that. So I'm going to let you finish watching this part and then we'll move on to the next step. So I wanted to pop in here really quick and share, talk to you about this next piece of paper that I chose. So I love the meaning of this. It is also in Jean Petit collage packs. It says, "We are not perfect. We struggle. We are broken and blended. We are learning to love. We are finding the good. We are covered by grace. We are family." And I really wanted that in this project as well, because I believe that that also has a lot to do with kind of the exploration of the heart, being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to be transparent, which if you guys follow me, you know that I am a very transparent person, bordering on sharing too much sometimes, but that is who I am and I accept that. And so I really wanted that to be a part of the background, even though, again, much of that gets lost in the process. And then the measuring tape there is always, again, is always a meaningful choice for collaging, because measuring is also a part of how we define success, how we measure our accomplishments, how we even measure ourselves. But I think measuring can be reframed to be a positive thing. We can, for instance, I am on a weight loss and health journey. As of today, January the 25th, I've lost 23 pounds in 65 days. And yes, I'm measuring that progress, because it gives me hope and it keeps me on track. And so while at the same time exploration is about kind of letting go of the boundaries and just playing, there is also a place for kind of taking an inventory of what we're doing, and that is a measuring of sorts. So we're just finishing up with the last of the papers. I'm not sure why I kept going in with more, and this is one of those spreads that I found in retrospect that a lot of the papers I chose didn't really, to be persnickety about how I was laying them out, didn't really matter, because so much of this page was covered over, mainly by the focal image. I didn't like the smaller size butterfly, so I got a larger one, and so a lot of it did not show, just so you know. But here's just a close-up of that after it is dried, just to give you an idea of what that collage background looks like, similar to what you do with a masterboard. So yeah. I did add a little bit of that paper tape, that packaging tape, which is those little brown strips that you see, which sometimes can create a lot of texture. In this case, they didn't show, but we never know. So typically on my channel, when I do mixed media work, I always do a raw umber glaze. Today I'm going to do a raw umber wash. And the difference between a wash and a glaze is that the glaze creates an opportunity for your paint to not seep into the paper and to kind of sit more on the surface, and it allows you to wipe off parts of it. A wash is a little bit different, because it is just the paint with a little bit of water added. That was a lot of water. And too much paint, just so you know. It's not coffee there, that is paint. I used way too much, but it's the same process in terms of how you apply it and how you wipe it off, but it doesn't end up with the same results. So I'm going to let you watch and see what that looks like here for a moment. But basically what I wanted here was just a little bit of grunge. Again, this step was probably not necessary because so much of this was covered over, but it's part of the process, it's part of the exploration, and it's part of the joy for me in kind of therapeutically creating a background in my journal or on a other substrate, depending on what I choose. But there you can see I went a little bit darker with that wash. So yeah, it's cool. They're very similar, the wash and the glaze, but the glaze is my preferred method, which works really well, especially if you are doing some texturizing, because your glaze will actually catch on all of that beautiful three-dimensional texture. So there we had another dry and another close-up of that, a little bit grungier. So there I was just showing on the top of that map where some of that paint got under the paper, and it creates a pretty cool effect as well. So I am choosing this leaf stencil because I want to show you a technique for using a stencil and a paintbrush or your finger and applying the paint through the stencil with a paintbrush or your finger. Now, I found, kind of looking back, that I used a little bit too much paint, but that is okay. So the paint I'm using here is the sap green hue. It is a golden artist acrylic. It is a very transparent color, one of my favorites, but I did use a little bit much, as I just mentioned, but I'm just going to apply that stencil in a few different places on the spread, and then I will let you watch that and come back and talk a little bit more. So this is where it gets a little squirrely. I lost track a little bit of what I was trying to do here, but I'm going to try to explain the best that I can. I was willing to ditch this entire video. I kept putting it off because I did not want to do the editing after 3 weeks of not looking at it, but I decided to go ahead and persevere and bring it to you in the raw here, because I think that, again, that lesson is important to share. It is the kinds of stuff that I want to be able to share. So I'm just coming in with another Sean Petit stencil and using that muted pink. That is the Liquitex Heavy Body, and that looks really pink on the bottle, but it's like a maroon color. It's really gorgeous. But just going around the spread in various places with this, and then I do come in also and use a baby wipe and kind of soften some of the edges because I do not like a squared off edge. But that being said, it probably doesn't matter unless you are working on a part of your project that's going to show in the final product. Like my focal image took up a lot of the pages. So this was not as important as it could have been, as well as the other layers that I came in with were much different than I normally do. And they were quite beautiful, and they were very, very fun. And I can't wait to get to that part and talk to you about what that felt like to do something a little bit different than my normal process. So we're going to hit this with the heat tool here again, so that we can move on. The magic of YouTube, we get to do that. So this is golden fluid acrylic in Nicolazo yellow. It's a very, very transparent yellow, which is very rare in yellow in any medium. But you can see as I'm applying it that you can see completely through that yellow. But I wanted to bring out some really bright, light elements and look to the spread, which was really visible in the end product. So I'm really glad that I chose that. But we're going to be, for a good while here, we're going to be dancing kind of between different colors. Again, I mentioned them in the beginning of the video, I believe. I'm using sap green hue, artist acrylic, yellow ochre, cobalt turquoise, the muted pink, and then in the golden fluid acrylics, I'm using cobalt turquoise, teal, Nicolazo yellow, and raw umber. So the teal you're going to see me use here in a little bit. I did not like it. Teal is not a transparent color. It was very opaque and it felt really out of place. on this spread. And what I love about this part of the process is you can see that corner there where I put that muted pink. It's catching on the paper, the elements of the collage paper, and I really like that. And so I'm just working again around the spread, applying different colors. That's the muted pink, excuse me, and the one above it is the Nicolazo yellow. So I'm going to let you watch for a little bit until I feel like it's useful for me to start talking again. So enjoy. Introducing here some of the sap green next. This is the sap green hue. It is a very thick acrylic paint, and I love it. It's off screen on my glass mat there, but it was just the right element to be adding here. And what I was finding as I was working on this is that the leaves felt like they were kind of didn't have a purpose in the spread, and so you're going to see how I'm going to resolve that. It's really really neat to be able to kind of think outside the box and come up with a way to make them really pop off the page, as well as the main color I was trying to bring out in my focal image was a light turquoise, but not a teal. So a lot of the steps that you're going to see here next are me trying to bring out or bring into the background some of the teal turquoise-ish colors in the focal image. And I'm hoping that when you look at the pictures at the end, you're going to see a little bit more about what I'm talking about when I finalized. A lot of that greenery does get covered up because of the placement of the focal image, but that again is okay. I know what's there, and it all tied together. I love how the spread turned out in totality, and I love the lines there that are being created, kind of a boxy look around some of that texture. I mean, not the texture, but the edges of the collage papers, and especially in this area here. It's really, really pretty. And again, I can't overemphasize in this project, even though I kind of gave up on tracking how I was going to explain what I was doing to you because it was getting so long. I was so entrenched in the process, and I was loving the messiness of it. I was loving using my fingers. I was loving the feeling of surprise that I found as I was choosing different places to apply the various colors that I am playing with. And that is adventure, and that is also exploration, just kind of getting out of the adult zone and entering into a place of kind of like coloring as a child. You know, it was just random and free and enjoyable, and the process was again more important than the product. So, and that was just, I wanted to show you a little bit of a close-up of this, and then we're going to move on. I believe now I'm going to start with a little bit, well, there's our focal image, and this is where I kind of discovered that I was beginning to consider that was a little bit too small for such a big page, but we're not done with stenciling. So layers and layers of stenciling are really, really enjoyable. So again, thinking about the process rather than the product. So And here I'm choosing the muted turquoise in the golden acrylic, and the teal is there underneath that, and I did not like that, as I mentioned before. And I'm using the numbers jumbled stencil from Sean Petit. And again, in retrospect, I could have left this this teal and it would not have been a problem. It would not have bothered the final result. But again, the process at this point was a little bit broken in terms of, hey, I'm doing a video, I'm trying to share my process with you all, and it was not, I mean, it was like I just kind of threw it to the wind by this point. But I did wipe off that teal because I did not care for it at that point in the process. But in retrospect, again, I could have left it. It wouldn't have been a problem. But we're going to try something a little bit different here. And so I'm going to let you watch this for a moment. So it occurred to me that I could come in with this is a, oh my goodness, an archival ink. It is the Mermaid Lagoon, I believe, and it is permanent. So there are two things about this. So it's permanent. So again, I didn't like the color. I put it on with my makeup sponge, and then I didn't like it, and I wanted to take it off, and I couldn't. So I'm going to let you watch this for a second, but I'll explain what I attempted to do and what the result of that was as well. It was a little bit of a hot mess, but, and again, retrospect is always, you know how they say, 2020, and I could have left this. It would not have bothered the spread. It wouldn't have been a problem, but I didn't like it, so I was trying to take it off. So you can use a little bit of alcohol, just isopropyl alcohol, and you can take things off of your surface, but when you do that, it works to take the ink off, but it also can take off other layers. And I experienced that in a couple of different places. Again, I wasn't too alarmed there. So you can see the little bit of white showing there, but it did take off, the Mermaid Lagoon ink, but it did also take off a little bit of the other paint. But again, sometimes you want that result. So it was okay. It didn't bother me a bit. And we just are going to continue on in this process. So let's see what's next. I do not quite recall. Oh, so this is where I start fussing with the leaves. So I'm coming in with that teal. So that did work out. I just tapped into that teal, and I'm going to be going back and forth for a little while with the teal and then the yellow ochre, and I can't remember what other colors. I'll put them on the screen if it's a part where I'm just setting it to music. But I'm going to let you watch here for a bit, and then we'll come back and talk some more. So as you see here, I did go ahead and come back, and I forgot about this step, even though I did watch it without all the audio, with the teal. And because then I needed to tie the leaves in with the background a little bit, not a lot. You want some contrast, but oh, maybe that wasn't the teal. Oh, I think I was trying to get out a different paint. It was all dried up, so that has to go in the trash. But again, the play of this was really cool. And another thing I'm noticing as I'm watching this is that flower is right there at the top of that sprig of leaves. And I thought that was pretty cool. So this is actually the teal that I did not care for. But again, we are going to just continue to work with it and accept the things that are happening as part of the process. It is just fine. So coming back, I believe that I'm tapping into the cobalt. I think the other one was the cobalt turquoise. My apologies. That darker color is cobalt turquoise, and it was a good choice, and that was what I was using on the leaves. So I'm so sorry I got that a little bit confused. So I probably won't wait 3 weeks to do a voiceover ever again, because this was so daunting. It was so daunting that I did not even want to come back to it. I was like, I do not want to come back to this. But I just watched it. I cut out all the drying time, and then I watched it without the audio, and I was able to kind of catch up with what I was doing. But just bringing a little bit of that alcohol in again to pull off some of that teal off the leaves, because I did not care for it again. But yeah, that's okay. It's a great technique. Maybe sometime I'll show you what it looks like when you're doing it kind of more on purpose to create a particular effect. But just a close up there of that turquoise, cobalt turquoise. So this is the yellow ochre. This is also a golden product. It is a fantastic product, and it's bringing in a little bit of a different tone of yellow, which I think was really important to this spread, and I think it was a good complement. So again, I'm going to turn the music on. So just taking another look there at my image and deciding, thankfully I had printed it out in a couple different sizes, so I was able to change my mind about this, and I went with the bigger image, because this is way too small for the spread. I was also trying to figure out a way that I didn't have to cover up that map that's on the right side, because it had the France word, and I really wanted that in the project. So here I am using a charcoal pencil to kind of give a little bit of shading around some of the leaves. I didn't end up, I pulled another pencil that was a little bit softer, and I do use it later on, but I didn't really like the effect at this stage of the process. So I believe that I do wipe some of it off. That's the beauty, again, of charcoal, as well as soft pastels and things like that. You're able to easily just take it off if you don't like it, and then start again. So that's what I did there. And then just a quick little dry with my paper towel. And then we'll see together what is next. It's a party. But I hope you guys don't mind. I was thinking about doing a little bit of collage work on the top layer here. I did end up scrapping that idea because I could not come up with something that made sense for me and that I was pleased with. So I'm going to just cut out this larger image. It is still not the full image as it was purchased, but it is shrunk down, I think, by about 70%. Maybe 70%. So I will link that kit. It's a beautiful, beautiful bunch of papers, really lovely. So I'll be using those in journals as well. Really gorgeous. So I love how this is looking now. Because I can see the teal in the butterfly, as well as the teal and the cobalt turquoise in the butterfly and the background. So I believe this is I can't quite tell what I'm looking at, what I'm dipping. Oh, the yellow ochre, coming in with yellow ochre to try to mute out a little bit of that teal, because it was not as, it wasn't tying in as well as I wanted it to. And then the yellow ochre there on the leaves as well. And again, I do fuss more with a paintbrush, applying some more colors in varying shades on all of the leaves that you see there. And then just, again, skipping around the page, trying to add different colors where it seems like they were needed. And for those of you who don't play a lot with mixed media, it can feel a little bit overwhelming, like I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what to do. Just play. And as you do it and as you play more, you'll begin to learn what you like and what you don't like. And I definitely have a style when it comes to my mixed media play, and you'll figure that out as well as you continue to explore. So again, just doing the dance there around the page with different colors as well as the leaves. So this project, as you know, as I mentioned in the intro, is my Sunday's Art of Truth. So there will be a blog writing where I share the inspiration for this project, some of the learning that I experienced, as well as the life application for my word of the year, which again is exploration. So this definitely stretched me. It not only the creating of the spread, but also the walking away from it and choosing to come back to it after 3 weeks. Normally, again, I would have trashed it. And I would have said, hey, there's no way in the world that I'm going to edit a 2-hour video down to a speed and a length that is beneficial to my viewers. So again, I'm glad that I persevered. But you can read more about the thought process, some of the life applications that I experience as I do this process, over on my blog. So that will all be linked in the video description box, as well as all the supplies. Super fun to be able to share with you and write a little bit about how I process these kinds of things. I know that can be encouraging and hopeful for others. So I hope that is the case for you as well. So here I am bringing in a little bit of that muted pink into the leaves. And because what happens when you do that, you keep going back to the same colors, is you bring continuity to your whole spread, whether it's going to all show or not, which as you've seen already in the photo at the beginning, that much of those leaves are not showing, but in person this looks so incredible. I just thrilled with how it turned out. But yeah, again, process over product is the name of the game. Having fun and not getting too bogged down by expectations and those kinds of things. completely forgot that I was going to come in with a little bit of stamping. That's always also a really great way to add a last layer. It can be a first layer, but it's also really pretty as one of the last layers because it sits on top of all of the layers of paint that you've already put down. And so, again, I was just playing around with, do I want to create a collage? No, I don't want to create a collage kind of focal point. So I'm using my Fabri-Tac to go ahead and glue that image down because I am working on, now I didn't use any texture. Oh my goodness. I just realized I did not use any texture paste in this project. Wowza. That's pretty cool and kind of different for me. So that's kind of exciting to remember that now as I'm doing the voiceover. But again, just gluing that on, giving it a chance to set a little bit, pressing in that spine part so that it doesn't later cause a problem. But if you take a moment and look at the background around that focal image, you can see that we have the same kinds of colors represented in both places. And I believe that we've got some good contrast as well. Contrast is still a tricky thing for me, but I have fun exploring it. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be doing more learning from Sean Petit through her insider group. I'm just using a charcoal pencil there to go around the focal image. That kind of makes it, well, not kind of, it separates it and lifts it off of the background, which helps it to be the focal point in all intents and purposes. So yeah, then we get to the quote. This did not work out at all because I did not reserve a clean space for it. So I am going to be gluing it on. It's on tissue paper with my fluid matte medium, but I do something completely different off camera, but you guys can check that out in the photos as well. I think I printed it on another piece of paper and just attached it that way because it was not a good scene at all. So I'm going to go ahead and let you watch here for a moment, and then you can leave now if you choose, but I'm just going to turn the music on now. Thank you.